Welcome back to another episode of Sports Buzz. The Vincennes University Trailblazers advanced to the quarterfinal of the NJCAA tournament today, and we'll have a look at how they did.
We've got a preview of how several teams are preparing for their season.
And we wrap up our feature on legendary VU broadcaster Dave Hunter. We have these stories and more right now on Sports Buzz. Good evening. For Sports Buzz, I'm Caitlin Killingbeck.
And I'm Aiden Baugh.
The VU Trailblazers have reached the Final 8 in the NJCAA Men's Basketball National Tournament in Hutchinson, Kansas. Here's a recap of how that game went down.
The Blazers' season came to an end in the quarterfinals of the NJCAA tournament as Northwest Florida State defeated VU 68-55. Chris King and Caleb Johnson led the Blazers with 12 points each, and Shiloh Jackson added 11. VU only trailed by 5 at the break, but the Raiders jumped out to a double-digit lead in the second half and put the game out of reach. The Blazers wrap up another stellar season at 30-6 and their best finish in Hutchinson since 2019. For Sports Buzz, I'm Adam Reinhardt.
Tuesday, Caleb Johnson led the way with 17 points, and Ryan Oliver came off the bench to add 14 as VU upset number 2 seed Southern Idaho 75-70 to advance to the quarterfinals. The Blazers won despite a 24-point outburst by the Golden Eagles. Isaiah Moses, the win avenged a loss to Southern Idaho in the 2018 national semifinals. Early in the week, VU defeated Trinity Valley 70-57, behind 19 points from Caleb Johnson to advance. In high school boys basketball, the Linton Miners are headed to the state finals for the third time in the last 11 seasons. Logan Webb led the way with 28 points, and Central Florida commit Joey Hart added 23 as Linton held off Brownstown Central 64-56 in the Class 2A semi-state final in Southport. Brownstown was led by Purdue-bound Jack Benter, who led all scorers with 32 points and helped cut a 21-point Linton lead down to 2 late in the fourth quarter. The Miners defeated Park Heritage earlier in the day 87-59 to advance to meet the Braves. Linton is now 29-1 and will face Fort Wayne Blackhawk Christian Saturday at 12:45 p.m. in the Class 2A state finals at Gamebridge Fieldhouse.
In Class 3A, the North Davies Cougars saw their run as defending state champs come to an end at the semifinals in Seymour, after Scottsburg rallied from a 12-point deficit to win 47-45. The Cougars fell behind by 6 late in the fourth before making their own rally. With North Davies down by 2 in the closing seconds, Lance Wilson was fouled as time expired. Wilson had a chance to send the game to overtime, but missed his first free throw, ending the game. The Cougars finished the season at 24-6. Scottsburg later fell to Guerin Catholic in the championship 56-40.
In Class A, the Lagodi Lions also saw their semi-state end in a heartbreaking fashion as Indianapolis Lutheran rallied from an 11-point fourth quarter deficit to edge the Lions 67-66. DeRay Smith led the Saints with 16 points, and Caden Loescher added 9 points, including the game winner off a turnover in the closing seconds. Peyton Bledsoe led Lagodi with 26 points in his final high school game. The Lions wrap up the season 20-8. Lutheran later beat Rock Creek in the final to advance to the state finals.
The boys' baseball season is getting underway. With the season quickly approaching, Reveille High School's baseball team is looking to make big changes.
Bradley Cavanis-Maines has more from St. Vincent's Field.
Reveille High School is getting ready for the season and will play Princeton on March 30th. The Patriots tallied a disappointing 0-17 record last year and are looking to improve. According to Coach Stephen Holka, they are eager to start strong and put the past behind them.
The seniors, they've been with me the last couple years, and I'm really, as much as I want to get that first win, I want to get it for them even more. They put the hard work in, and I know last year got frustrating there towards the end of the year, but they kept plugging away, and it's just a matter of, we're right on the edge, just a matter of fixing up a couple things here and there, and we'll turn this thing around.
Coach Holka is committed to providing his senior players with a taste of victory. The squad needs a strong captain who can inspire their teammates to bring the fire and boost morale. The athletes are driven to hone their leadership abilities as a result.
The seniors, when I was a sophomore, they were good leaders for me. I was pretty close to all of them, so their leadership inspired me to be the leader I am.
With Sports Buzz, I'm Bradley Cabanis-Mans.
1 year removed from its second sectional title in 4 years. The Lincoln baseball team prepares to get back on the diamond for its third season in the SIAC. Last season, the Owls finished 13-11 overall and defeated Southridge in the sectional final. While Lincoln struggled during the SIAC season, going 1-7, they played their best ball in the time for the postseason and gave Conference for Evansville Memorial a tough game and a 6-2 loss at the regional. Expectations are high as the Owls look to defend their sectional crown in May. But according to seniors Zach Steffe and Dagan Pareto, the team is taking it step by step and is ready for the challenge.
That's honestly how we go by our season, just one game at a time. Coach prepares us the best that he can, even though we play multiple games throughout the week. But we take the SIAC as just keep building each game, keep building, leading it into the sectional. That way we're ready to go there.
It helps us a lot. He always has a pretty good game plan throughout the week, a lot of games. We know what we're doing, we know where we're at, we know who we're throwing, we know who we're going against, and he gets us well prepared. Obviously the expectations are going to be high going into the sectional. We're the reigning champs, so we're going to have to defend our title.
The Owls are scheduled to open their season Tuesday, March 28th at Hill Fieldhouse against Southridge.
Another Lincoln squad is looking to get a taste of success while developing young players. Lincoln High School softball coach Corbin McCrary and senior Allison Becker discussed the challenges the Owls will face this season, as well as the goals they have set for themselves.
We're expecting a lot of growth this season. That is our main goal, is to just grow as a team this year. We lost a couple of really big seniors last year, and so we do have some experience. A lot of our sophomores this year were freshmen last year, and they played varsity. So I'm excited to see them grow more into that varsity role. We're even going to have some freshmen playing varsity, so it's going to be nice to see everyone grow together this year. We have 3 upperclassmen and 22 players, so we have a very young team this year, but we're not going to let that be an excuse. Everyone's always looking forward to that Vincent-Jasper rivalry, right? So we're always looking forward to that game. We do play in the SIAC conference, and it is tough. We play a lot of Evansville teams. We look forward to those games, though, because they get us ready for our really tough sectional that we have this year.
I definitely think that we can be a lot better this season with our record, and I think that our defense could be a lot better this year, and I think we can succeed in that.
First game is Monday. Yep, this coming Monday. I've been checking the weather every day, and it was calling for rain Monday, and now it's not. It's at Sullivan, so we're ready to go. We're ready to get out there and start playing some games.
Over in Illinois, Lawrenceville opened its softball season this week at Phil Almonds Field. It was a difficult opener for the host Indians as the Carmi Bulldogs jumped out to a quick lead in the first inning. It went on to shut out Lawrenceville 16-0 on Monday. The game was called after the 4 innings due to the mercy rule. The Indians were scheduled to take on Edwards County on Tuesday, but the game was canceled due to weather. Lawrenceville hosts Flora this evening, weather permitting.
Next, we check in with another spring sport. North Knox track and field teams are both eager and prepared to compete this season. Xander Green has the details.
With the North Knox girls track and field season getting underway in a few weeks, Coach Josh Adams has high standards set for his female athletes.
I have high expectations, both individually and as a team. I think if all of our athletes compete the way I know they can individually, then we're going to be really successful as a team throughout the year. We want to be right up there with the top 2-3 teams in sectional.
After a hard-working offseason, the young North Knox boys track and field team is heading into the season amped and under new management.
Well, as a first-year head coach, it's hard to gauge exactly what I need to improve on. I do have some information there. We have a roster of 20 kids here, 14 of which are underclassmen. So I think there might be a little bit of a learning curve, but with a roster that size, we're gonna end up winning a lot of the small meets that we're in. As far as like conference and sectionals go, I'd say in the blue chip conference, we're aiming to be top half of the conference. You know, if things go well, maybe shoot for a top 3 finish.
Senior athlete Regan Hamelman likes the chemistry the team has developed during the offseason.
Right now, we all have a pretty tight-knit group. We're all having a lot of fun together, and I think we can do pretty good things. And the energy on the track team is just a lot different than any other sport.
Both teams are off to a running start. With Sports Buzz, I'm Alexander Green.
Moving on to Vincennes University sports, 2 VU women basketball players were named to the All-Region 24 team last week. Sherelle Newsome earned the recognition for the second time, and freshman Alicia Basilia got her first honors. Newsome led VU in several categories, including points per game with 14.4 and assists with 130. This season, Newsome was also the only Trailblazer to play at all 32 games. She finished with 114 three-pointers made. That put her second all-time in school history for threes in the season, and third in the NJCAA. Meanwhile, France native Basilia finished the season averaging a double-double with 11.6 points and 10.2 rebounds. She grabbed 145 offensive rebounds total, which was good for 7th in the NJCAA. Basilia says this season was a good challenge, as she didn't expect so much responsibility during games as a freshman. The Lady Blazers ended the season 21-11 and were runner-up in the Region 24 championship game.
Vincennes University baseball has extended their win streak to 8 thanks to the offense bombardment. The Trailblazers traveled to Danville area on Tuesday for a doubleheader, scoring 37 runs between both games. In Game 1, VU started quickly scoring 9 runs in the first. Finished off by a 3-run home run by sophomore Caden Elliott, the Trailblazers added 9 more runs throughout the game, with a 2-run home run by Colton Evans. Elliott would finish the day going 5 for 5 with 4 runs and 5 RBIs. The Trailblazers got the win 18-6.
In Game 2, VU got off to a slower start, with Danville taking a 5-0 lead after 2 innings. Elliott and Evans continued their hot streak with the bats in the top of the third, combining to drive in 3 runs. The Trailblazers then took the lead in the fourth as Ethan Burdett hit a 2 RBI single. In the 5th inning, 12 batters had a plate appearance in a 7-run inning. Trailblazers completed the 4-game sweep of Danville with a 19-11 win. VU has scored 92 runs over their 8-game win streak, which is almost half the total runs scored so far in their 25-game season. The team looks to keep this hot streak going when they hit the road to Illinois Central College this weekend. They play a doubleheader on Saturday starting at 2 p.m. and a doubleheader on Sunday starting at 1 p.m.
Meanwhile, the golf team at Vincennes University got their highest finish of the season at the Lincoln Trail Invitational. VU sophomore Paxton Schwellmeyer was one of 3 Trailblazers to finish in the top 10. Schwellmeyer shot an 82 in the full 18-hole round and then finished strong with a 1/37 in the final 9 holes. He finished in a 5-way tie for first with a total of 119. Meanwhile, sophomore Luke Vanderventer finished 8th with a score of 121, just 2 strokes off first place. Rounding out the top 10, sophomore Caleb Newman scored 123. VU Hall of Fame coach Dennis Chatton says Schwellmeyer missed a 3-foot putt on the last hole that could have given him the outright win. The Trailblazers will be back in action at the Garn Championship Monday, March 27th.
On our last episode, we took you back in time when local broadcaster Dave Hunter started his career inside the White House as part of President Johnson's communication team. Fast forward to today, and Hunter now has more than 5 decades of professional experience in the field. Reporter Hunter Van Houten takes us through the local legend's journey as the voice of the VU Trailblazers.
Again, in front of the Lakeland bench, Caleb will inbound the ball. Drops it into Bonsu. Bonsu will take it inside the field.
For over 4 decades now, Dave Hunter's iconic voice has called game after game for the Vincennes University men's basketball team. His love for basketball started at a young age, but he was never able to make it on the court. But that didn't stop him from being a part of the game.
I mean, I was every star of the era on my driveway when I was growing up. And through high school, I didn't play high school basketball. I was the last guy cut my senior year on the team. And the coach asked me if I wanted to do statistics for the team, which I said, sure. I wanted to play so bad. If he had given me a jersey and said, here, you can sit on the bench, but you'll never get in the game, I would have gladly taken it because I just wanted to be on the team.
The idea never occurred to Hunter that he could get into sports broadcasting until he spent his time at the White House Communications Agency. His career in sports broadcasting began nearly 50 years ago when he took a job in 1972 at WAOV. Then Hunter began to delve into high school games and sat down with no experience, learning as he went. Luckily, he wasn't alone when he started.
The late Don Skinner, who was the guidance director at North Knox, he was actually my high school principal at Bicknell in 1961. And later I worked with him on broadcasts because he still, although he was still a school administrator, he did games for the radio stations. And then my late friend Randy Westfall, who passed away last summer, those two guys, we did hundreds of games together. Sometimes the three of us, sometimes just two of us. And we traveled together, became good friends. They were connoisseurs of basketball. They loved sports, and so, you know, those guys always meant a lot to me.
One thing Hunter started early on was interviewing coaches before the game, during halftime, and post-game. He says normally everyone would go out and smoke, but since Hunter didn't, he thought he'd spend that time furthering his craft.
When I started, coaches weren't used to being interviewed, and I started doing that, doing pregame interviews, halftime interviews, post-game interviews, and over the years, I've fortunately developed a rapport with a lot of coaches in the business where it's easy to talk to them, but I never assume they have an obligation to talk to me. I always put it in the context of, I'd like to do an interview at your convenience, and I always do the interviews before the day of the game if I can, because it's much more relaxed. You get more information. They're not on edge thinking about the next couple of hours when you get there.
Into the middle, ball knocked loose. Look at those quick hands getting in from Sean Marion.
According to Hunter, the best player he's seen on the Trailblazer court was Sean Marion. Marion, a two-time junior college All-American selection, played for VU from 1996 to 98, finishing his career as a second all-time scorer. Hunter recalls a bus crash on the way to a game that impacted Marion's chances to break the record.
In 1998, we were on the way to Kankakee to play a game, and the driver pulled out in front of a pickup truck which collided with the bus. Because of the wreck, we didn't get to play that game. It was not rescheduled. Marion ended up with 1,685 points, second on our all-time list behind the late Jerome Brewer, who scored 1,700 points. Had we played the game against Kankakee, Marion almost certainly would have scored 16 points and would have been the all-time leading scorer. So that accident prevented him, and he wasn't hurt in the accident, but that prevented him from getting to pass the 1,700 point barrier, which would have made him the #1 all-time scorer.
After spending so much time as a sports announcer, Hunter has a wealth of knowledge and experience he wants to pass on to the younger generations. His advice to young aspiring sports broadcasters is to prepare as much as possible.
One of the things my military service taught me was that you've got to be prepared to do the job way in advance. So I probably spend 4 to 5 hours before every broadcast preparing, putting together statistics, rosters, information I may not even use any of it on the broadcast, but I have a game book that's this thick for every single game that has game preparation, historical data, anything I can refer to make the broadcast more interesting.
Hunter says as soon as he finishes announcing one game, he doesn't go to bed until he is ready for the next one. He also doesn't go into the game with catchphrases. Spontaneous is how Hunter wants to sound as he tries to carry the action so the listener can picture what he's portraying. After 51 years in the industry, Hunter says he wouldn't change a thing.
And over the last 51 years, I've enjoyed it so much and stayed with it. I retired as VU Sports Information Director in 2008, thinking I would do it one more year.
Until that year comes, Dave Hunter will be live at every Vincennes University men's basketball game.
And that's all for this edition of Sports Buzz. From everyone here at Vincennes University Broadcasting, I'm Caitlin Killingbeck.
And I'm Aiden Ball. Join us again next week.